Hello, I'm Janine with Natural Grocers, and I am so pleased to present Kris Quinones. Kris is owner and founder of Rashiana. She is licensed massage and yoga therapist and an Ayurvedic health counselor. Welcome, Kris.
Thank you, Janine. Welcome, everybody. As Janine said, my background is as a muscular and yoga therapist, and more recently as an Ayurvedic health counselor. Ayurveda is the holistic system of medicine from India. It's homeopathic medicine and the self-healing system of the yogis. And now I coach people in the habits and lifestyles of the yogis and this system of Ayurveda so they can feel better, move better, and function better. So if you're looking for sustained energy, more vitality, maybe you are working with an autoimmune condition, I've got some nice tips for you today to implement for the spring season that can help bring more balance to the mind body and have a little fun along the way. So,
sounds great.
Okay. So, some of you might know what Ayurveda is already, especially those that might be practicing yoga. And the two systems both come from India. They share the same language and the same philosophy, as well as the same cultural foundation. And this is a holistic system that is less about the supplements and more about rhythmic living with circadian rhythm, which now modern medicine is recognizing as a true key to tapping into our gene clocks and how genes express themselves. So, this is a really powerful way to modify your daily life with some small, simple changes that are according to the time of year or the time of day or even the time and stage that you're in your life. So, my name's Kris Quinones. I have been practicing Ayurveda now professionally for over 17 years, and I work with both healthy and non healthy people. And I want to give you a little bit of context as to what Ayurveda can do for you using some common culinary spices in your kitchen and some whole seasonal foods. So, I'm going to share my screen with you. I have a couple of slides that I've prepared for today, and that should help you follow along. Like I said, this is a system that is based on the rhythms of Mother Nature. And there are three general mind body concepts that each of us have. And we have typically one or two of these three mind body principles that are more dominant than another. We call this your prakriti, your constitution, your unique genetic makeup, according to Ayurveda. These are Vata, Pitta, and Kappa. And we'll get into these later today, along with some mocktail recipes, some medicinal mocktails that you can make for the spring season that will be both detoxifying for the body, clearing for the mind, and energizing to the spirit and soul. So, what is this system? This is a system that is based off of four ancient texts in the Vedas. They're actually called the Vedas, the Atharva Veda, which is the medical text, which this system comes from, or these practices come from. Sama Veda talks to music and some of the cultural aspects of that time. This system is over 5,000 years old. So it is arguably the oldest continuously practiced medical system in the world. And now, because yoga has become so much of a daily fabric in our modern lives and culture, Ayurveda is experiencing a bit of a renaissance. Traditionally, a yoga student would never learn yoga without learning Ayurveda, and vice versa. Your education would be considered incomplete. That yoga is the system of spirituality and enlightenment, and Ayurveda is the system of medicine. One cannot attain spirituality and samadhi or bliss if you don't have a healthy body and clear mind. The other two Vedas are the Yajur Veda and the Rig Veda. These talk to other aspects of daily life. This is a system that comes from the Harappan culture in India, which is the longest and most enduring urban civilization. The early roots of Ayurveda and its healing practices using botanicals and fire ceremonies date back as far as 3500 BC. So this is really old, guys. And things that don't work don't last. Now, because of British occupation and the history of India, Ayurveda eventually became squelched, and allopathic and Western medicine became dominant for many, many years. And so for a while, we had lost a lot of the Vedic culture and these wonderful lessons that were gifted to us by the ancient sages and physicians back in the day. And it wasn't until the early 1900s, when yoga started to come to the US and the Western parts of the world, that people got a little bit more invested and interested in other ways that they could heal themselves and be able to do so in a way that was natural, non surgical, and accessible for everybody. Now, I started practicing as a massage and yoga therapist. So, a lot of the work that I started doing was based around pain relief and chronic inflammation. I've been doing this, as I said, for over 25 years. And before I was a holistic practitioner, I worked in orthopedics and sports medicine. So I'm very familiar with injuries to soft tissues, to recovery from surgery, and also the autoimmune conditions that have become so commonplace now as a result of living out of rhythm, as a result of not staying attached to our true nature. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. Rasayana, the name of my practice, translates roughly to remedy or formula. It refers to anything that's going to enhance your intelligence, vitality, and longevity in life. Now, that's pretty big. In fact, the word itself, Ayurveda, means the study of life itself and all that is encompassed with it. Now, I talked about three main mind body principles earlier. One of them is called Vata. Vata is made out of the elements of space and air. And this is often one of the major causes of disease. According to Ayurveda, we have too much air or too much fire, which I'll talk about in a moment. Our schedules are packed. We have a lot of information coming at us in the sensory organs, and we're just not able to keep up with the amount of sensory information that we get on the daily. And so Vata is a mind body principle that we all have, and it's most dominant in the winter season, okay? Late fall and winter. It's also dominant in the later stages of life, post-menopause, the golden years, ages 65 and up. And in a 24-hour cycle, it is most dominant between the hours of 2 and 6, both in the morning and in the afternoon. And this energy is responsible for all the mobility that happens in the body. It's responsible for the blood being pumped through our arteries. It's responsible for the movement of the diaphragm as we breathe. It's responsible for the impulses between the synapses and neurons in our thoughts. You can think of Vata as the principle of the body's currents. Okay. And so when we have a healthy, balanced Vata, well, let me back up for a second. Some of the qualities where you can recognize that you might have excess air and space elements are dryness, coldness, lightness, roughness. These are qualities associated with the element of air and wind itself. So if you find yourself with a schedule that has you moving around a lot, maybe you have a profession that requires you to speak a lot, like a teacher or a salesperson, this is Vata in action. And we need Vata. It moves food through the GI tract and out of the body. It allows us to have the autonomic functions of breathing, blinking, and that's what Vata does. Now, when Vata is healthy, It looks like good circulation. We have good regular eliminations of the bowels in the morning, usually within an hour upon rising. And we have the qualities of that lightness, that clearness with Vata. So it makes thinking really clear. Often a balanced Vata gives you more space, if you will, to be creative, to have the vision and look long term. And it also is reflected in healthy, free breathing. But when we have schedules that are going crazy and have us moving around a lot, and we have too much dryness, too much cold in our diets or in our environment, then it's going to start to look like poor circulation, poor elimination, bloating in the gut after you've eaten, gas, and feelings of anxiety and fear tend to dominate. It's that lightness of the air element that doesn't keep us tethered to the ground. Another mind body principle is pitta. Now, this is not pita like the bread, it's pitta. Pitta is mostly the fire element and a little bit of water element combined with it. And this is the principle of transformation. Fire transforms raw material into a new product. And all of us have pitta as well. Pitta is responsible for our hormone regulation, our body's ability to regulate temperature. It is represented in the digestive juices in our assimilation of our food. And so these are really important aspects of these elements in the daily life. They also allow us to cook our experiences in life and turn them into wisdom and knowledge. But if we have too much of it or it becomes imbalanced, then it certainly starts to exhibit its qualities of sharpness, of heat, of lightness, oiliness, and its penetrating quality. And that usually manifests in the form, when it's excessive, through the skin. So the heat in the body, in the blood, is literally looking for an exit strategy. So when someone has excess fire element, they tend to burn themselves out, suffer from skin rashes, rosacea, eczema, acid indigestion, or reflux. But when it's balanced, then we have a strong ability to comprehend knowledge and information. We have a steady metabolism and appetite with strong hormones and luminous skin. The light literally emits through the body. You might find people who just naturally glow or have that kind of olive tone skin. These are individuals who might be dominant in the pitta principle. We call them doshas, or mind body concepts. The third and final one, which we're going to talk about most today, is Kappa. Kappa is the mind body principle of cohesion, structure, stability, and immunity. It's the earth and water elements combined together. It's most dominant in the springtime, which is when you're watching this. So this is when the earth is thawing from the winter freeze. And so we often see mud in Mother Nature. And so what is happening at that time of year in Mother Nature is also happening in our own physiologies. So any accumulated waste product and toxins from the winter season that haven't been properly eliminated and are deeply buried in tissues, they start to thaw. And when they thaw, we tend to experience more mucus production, more allergies, more heaviness in the body in the springtime. Now, a healthy kappa is going to look like someone who has a really strong immune system. These are people who generally might have a body type that is a little bit more curvaceous, if you will. Their qualities tend to be soft and sweet and slow and cool and sticky or clingy, if you will. That's the cohesion property. It's what literally gives your body its form and structure and stability. It's your muscles and bones itself. And it's responsible, as I said before, for our immune system and lubrication in the body. So lubrication of the joints, lubrication of the spinal cord in the column with the cerebral spinal fluid, and helps with our immune system and killer T cells. So you have well lubricated joints and a very loving disposition, a very stable mood. People with a Kappa dominance tend to be the rocks in their communities. They're the ones people come to for support because they naturally have more earth element in them. And when it becomes excessive, when we have too much heaviness, too much water, earth element in our lifestyles, in our food choices, then it starts to look like water retention, weight gain, growths in the tissue like cysts or tumors, and a heavy heart, kind of depression, if you will. So Ayurveda seasonally likes to recommend certain practices and that you dominate certain tastes, if you will, on the palate. Those tastes are going to be bitter. You want to favor your dark leafy greens. Pungent, which is the spiciness. This is where we tap into our spice cabinets and use things like ginger, cloves, um, all of our peppers like black peppercorn and our chili peppers. All that kind of pungency helps break up that heavy, sticky, mucus quality that happens in the spring naturally in our bodies. Yeah. The third taste on the palate that you want to favor during the spring season, according to Ayurveda, is going to be astringent or drying in nature. Astringent foods would be things like your legumes, your coffee, your teas. And so during the spring season, Ayurveda normally recommends seasonal cleansing and introducing more of these dominant tastes, bitter, pungent, and astringent, into your daily foods. And that brings the balance during the spring season. So I'm going to share with you 3 recipes from some of my favorite Ayurvedic cookbooks so that you can start to practice Ayurveda in really small increments. And if you're interested in diving in more deeply, I have an annual coaching program, Clear Mind, Strong Body, where I lead people through operationalizing and automating the 10 anti-aging habits and practices of the yogis. It's a really fun group. We meet for retreats and live events a few times a year. And it's just a really wonderful opportunity to dive a little more deeply into how you can master your prakriti and recognize when you go out of balance. And this will do you very well, folks. Very, very well. So let's get started. Let me bring this camera just a wee bit closer. And all of these recipes you can find in these cookbooks. The first one is just a spring digestive tea. This is from the Everyday Ayurveda Cookbook by Kate O'Donnell. This is a wonderful cookbook for beginners that break down the basic concepts of an Ayurvedic diet and what kinds of things you want to keep stocked in your pantry. We don't have a lot of time today for me to go over all of that. So I just want to highlight some of these tastes, some of these spices that you can use in the springtime to get started with that spring thaw. So for the spring digestive tea, this makes 2 servings. We've got 2 cups of water in a small saucepan. And we're just going to start that on high heat. And in it, we're going to mix about a ½ inch piece of coarsely chopped ginger root, fresh ginger root, half star anise. Now, if you're not a big fan of this flavor, then go ahead and use less or break off a small piece and nibble on it, see if you like it. We've got 2 to 3 whole black peppercorns in here, as well as 3 whole cloves and ½ a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Now, cinnamon in particular is great at regulating blood sugar levels. So if you're someone who's aiming for some weight loss and you're like me with a Kappa dominant constitution and you just have to have your sweet treat after your meals, go ahead and start making this tea with some cinnamon in it. It will help cut the cravings for sugar and allow you to have a better balance. So I'm just going to stir that up a little bit here. And we're just simply going to let that boil for about 10 minutes. And then we'll strain it into our mug and enjoy that warm. Now, spices are the superheroes of the kitchen. I really believe that. I think that we underestimate its value and power. You generally want to be using spices in every meal. Each meal should have all of the 6 tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, and astringent. And for the spring, you're just going to have a little bit more of the bitter, pungent, and astringent tastes. So these spices, other than the cinnamon, help balance that heavy quality of kapha, help break up that stickiness of mucus, which tends to become so much more evident in the springtime. Now, while that's going, I'm going to move on to our second recipe here, which is from Kate O'Donnell's second cookbook called Everyday Ayurvedic Cooking for a Calm, Clear Mind. This book is a little bit more focused on the subtle energies of the mind, sattva, raja, and tamas. These are considered the doshas of the mind. And so what we do is similar to balancing kapha. We use fresh ingredients and we use those that are pertinent and balancing to the season. And so in this book, I'm going to do the spicy turmeric lemonade. Now, turmeric is the crown jewel in Ayurveda for its anti-inflammatory properties, its anticoagulant properties, and all of its healing benefits. Turmeric is in almost everything in Indian cooking. And it's also been shown to work on the sites of the brain that are connected to Alzheimer's disease. And in India, there's a very low incidence of Alzheimer's. And we believe that this is because of the daily use of turmeric in their diet. And I recommend it. I don't recommend the big turmeric capsules that have become so popular as a supplement. Those tend to be too high a dose, and for most, an irritant in the stomach lining. So you're better off using smaller kind of micro doses of fresh turmeric, either the powder or turmeric root, in your daily cooking than you are taking a capsule of 500 milligrams. Okay. So for the spicy turmeric, I like this because this is a conversation starter. So if you want to continue socializing, but nix the alcohol, which is pretty inflammatory, this is a really nice alternative. And so for the spicy turmeric, I want to make sure, let me put this on the back burner so I just don't burn myself here as I'm chatting with you. That would be horrible. Okay. So for the spicy turmeric, you're going to actually make a syrup. You're going to boil the 1 cup of water with some crushed ginger root, a 2-inch fresh piece of ginger root. I have this mortar and pestle. I just chopped it coarsely and pulverized it with my pestle here. And we're going to combine that with the water as well as our turmeric. We're going to use half a teaspoon of ground turmeric. And we're going to cover it in a small saucepan and reduce that down for about 10 minutes. Go ahead, get another pan. My pan's here. So I'm going to have to use a large one here. Cup of water. our pulverized ginger root. And our turmeric. We're going to do half a teaspoon. I'm going to eyeball it here because I use so much of this that I'm pretty good at eyeballing it at this point. So we'll let that get going as well. Stir that up a little bit. Again, adding the fire element over heat, converting, activating those bioavailable ingredients that are so important. Now, if you want to make this stronger, you can boil it for more than 10 minutes. Up to you. You can always make this ahead of time and just have this in a mason jar in your fridge and be able to whip it up on the spot. For those of you that are local to Colorado Springs, where I'm located, I'll be doing a workshop next Friday. Or actually, you won't be watching this in time. That'll be in March by the time you're watching this. But I do offer free strategy sessions via Zoom for people who are interested in finding out how my work might be able to help them with a particular challenge. So I'll make sure to provide you with the link to request that if you're interested. I'd be happy to chat. Let's find out how you can bring more Ayurveda into your own life. Now, once this has been going for about 10 minutes, we're going to mix in raw honey, about 1/4 cup of raw honey. Raw honey is a wonderful medicine. It's great for wound care. It's great antifungal, antiseptic, antimicrobial. So this is really a lovely substance. So 1/4 cup goes in here. Again, I'm estimating here, given that I've done this a couple of times. So I'm going to add that into our turmeric and ginger water here. And just stir it until the honey is completely dissolved. And once you have that done, like I said, you could store it in the fridge and then pull it out when you're ready. So because we are under a little bit of time constraints, we won't cook it fully for the 10 minutes, but I wanted you to get an idea of what goes in these and to have these recipes at the ready for yourself. What we're going to do, this will cool. Then we're going to add in the juice of about 4 lemons. That's about 1/2 cup of freshly squeezed lemon juice. So you're going to combine this with the syrup and your remaining 2 cups of water. So total for this recipe, we've got 3 cups of water. We used 1 cup to make the syrup, and the remaining 2 will be added with the fresh lemon juice after you've made the simple syrup. Mix this up a little bit. And serve. So this makes a really lovely golden color, as you can see here. Serve this over just a few cubes of ice. And this will be a really potent beverage to balance that heaviness in spring and have something that's non-alcoholic. Yeah. Ooh, that's delicious. Similarly, I have a mint limeade lemonade recipe that I want to share with you today. And this is for especially some of my vegan friends out there. This is from the Ayurvedic Vegan Kitchen by Talia Luxer, one of my other favorite Ayurveda people who combine the principles of Ayurveda into a vegan diet. Ayurveda really it doesn't really recognize veganism. In fact, Ayurveda uses fat medicinally quite a bit. So this is an alternative for those of you who do not consume animal fat or protein in your diet. And this helps capitalize on those tastes that I was talking about earlier. So for the mint limeade, again, we're going to make a simple syrup, which I've made ahead of time with equal parts of coconut sugar and water. So I have half a cup of coconut sugar, half a cup of water that I boil down over medium-high heat, stirring constantly for 5 minutes. Then I took it off the heat, threw in about 20 to 30 fresh mint leaves and let that steep for 20 minutes and then discard the mint leaves. So that's what you have right here in this simple syrup. So you want to do that ahead of time, and that takes about 20 minutes or so. And you do that, and this also includes, the zest of a whole lemon. So half a cup of water, half a cup of coconut sugar, fresh lemon zest of 1 lemon, reduced over medium-high heat for 5 minutes, stirring constantly. Then you steep the mint leaves. Now, once you have your simple syrup, really easy here, we're going to use a 1/4 cup, and that's about what this yields, by the way, once you've reduced it down into our cup. And then 3/4 cup of water, which I have. Let me get some more of. As well. We're also going to combine a 1/4 cup of, a 1/4 cup of freshly squeezed lime juice. And half a cup of freshly squeezed, or a 1/3 cup of freshly squeezed lemon juice. I think I'm going to need a bigger cup here. Let's mix this in our Pyrex for now. And lastly, the juice of 1 orange or tangerine. So these citrus fruits are very balancing for springtime, according to Ayurveda. That sour taste is a taste that we still want and we still want to use. A pinch of salt. I use Himalayan rock salt. Again, getting all of the taste in here. Just a pinch, like literally 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm going to mix that up and serve with a garnish of lime. So let's pour that back into our cup. I'm using coconut sugar, so it tends to look a bit dark, but I assure you it's quite tasty. And you can enjoy this cool, or you can enjoy it warm as well. So it's up to you. Cheers. Oh yeah, that's nice. Leave that over here. And so I know I went through that really quickly, but it's really simple. These recipes are not that complex. They require a little bit of manual time in the kitchen, chopping and crushing and squeezing. But that's part of the practice, is to use all of our sense organs and connect with these raw materials and be able to utilize their medicinal value for what they are. Okay. So again, my name's Kris Quinones. I hope you have at these recipes and utilize your opportunity to talk to me. I am available. Oops, I lost you there for a moment. You can go to my website at www.rasa, yana.com, and you can read more about me. You can also request that free call by going to this link here you see on the slide, this type form link here. Will send a message to me immediately, and I'll be responding within a business day to get you on my calendar. And let's talk about what your health concerns are and how I might be able to help you using these habits of the yogis and these natural ingredients that are already available to you in your kitchen. I launch that program 3 times a year. We begin again in May. And I certainly welcome you to utilize that, because it certainly is something that can help you straight away. And it's no hard sales here. I really do just want to talk with you and find out what's getting in the way of you living a more robust life, one with less pain, one with more mobility, agility, and clear thinking. Because once we have those things with steady stamina and energy, we can really realize our fullest potential. And that's what I love to do, is help people reach their fullest potential and live life at the next level. So be in touch. I would love to hear from you, and check out these cookbooks. Again, the Ayurvedic Vegan Kitchen by Talia Luxor, the Spicy Turmeric Lemonade is from the Everyday Ayurveda Cooking for a Calm, Clear Mind from Kate O'Donnell. And our Spring Digestive Tea, which has been simmering all along, will filter into our coffee mug, comes from the first Everyday Ayurveda Cookbook by Kate O'Donnell. So these are staples in my kitchen, as are fresh seasonal ingredients. And I hope that helps you balance allergies, lethargy, and perhaps any depression or heavy-heartedness that you might be experiencing. I certainly would love to help you with that.
Thank you so much, Kris.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And I know I went through a lot of information tonight. So if anyone wants to have more conversation with me about how Ayurveda can help them live their best lives, reach out. You can go to my website at rasa, yana, yana.com. Fill out the form right on my homepage, and that emails me directly, and I'll follow up with you individually.
Great. Thanks again.
My pleasure. Bye.
Are you looking for personalized nutrition advice to support your unique health goals? Please visit naturalgrocers.com/virtual-coaching to book a free one-on-one nutritional health coaching session with your nutritional health coach today.